Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. Not a lot of action across the league, just 4 games on this slate. A lot of that is because the in-season tournament is starting on Friday, which has led to a lot more teams showing up. I'm personally really excited to see the in-season tournament get going. Can't wait to see how the new courts look, the uniforms, and I just think it's a fun way to spice up the regular season. So I'll definitely be recapping the first day of those games on Saturday. But for right now, we need to talk about Thursday. Like I said, 4 games. We'll talk about 3 of them a bit later, but there's one in particular that we're really going to focus on, and that's Spurs versus Suns. This is a matchup that I was personally really excited for because on one side you've got the Phoenix Suns, who are a championship contending team, or a hopeful championship contending team. Bradley Beal has not played up to this point, but Kevin Durant's been good, and Devin Booker returned after missing the past few games with injury. So D-Book, Kevin Durant are back, and they're facing off against the Spurs team, who hasn't been great, but they've looked pretty solid so far. Devin Vassell's been playing well. Keldon Johnson had some big moments, specifically against the Suns, who they just played in their last game, getting a big win over them there. And of course, Victor Wembanyama, who, if Kevin Durant's a legend of the now, Vic feels like a legend of the future. And a matchup between these two guys could be looked at in, a few years as a special moment where it was Kevin Durant, still playing some of his best hoops, but heading towards the end of his career while Vic is just getting started. And this battle was special because Victor Wembanyama, up to this point, has been really good. Don't get me wrong. He's been amazing out there, consistently making plays that make you think this guy's not a real basketball player, putting up decent stat lines, blocking shots, being efficient. Vic has been doing all the stuff that we saw from him in preseason and stuff that I expected from him going into this year. But through the first 4 games, he hadn't had that one performance that had shattered the internet completely until this game against the Suns. And leading into this, there was a lot of discourse surrounding Vic. There were some people saying that, he hasn't been that impressive. You had Shaq going on NBA on TNT and saying that Bol can do a lot of the same things that Wemby can, which I like Bol. I want to see him succeed, but come on. We're talking about Victor Wembanyama and Bol here. And so in this game, it felt like Vic was almost due for one of those special performances that, again, completely shatters the NBA world, and he did exactly that, going out there and having easily the best game of his career. Some people are saying it's the best game that they've ever seen from a rookie. I don't know if that's the case or not. I haven't thought about it enough to figure out if that actually is the case, but it's certainly up there in the conversation. I don't care who else has played really well since I've been watching. Vic had one of the most special games I've ever seen from a first-year player, dropping 38 points, 10 boards, 2 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks on 15 of 26 shooting, 3 of 6 from 3, in a win over the Phoenix Suns with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker out there. It was some unbelievably special stuff, and right from the get-go, you could tell that this was going to be a different kind of game from Vic. He had his career high, season high, whatever, he's a rookie, 4 points and a half in the first half where he was dominant. He was running out in transition, actually getting the ball this time. That was one big thing in this game. It feels like the Spurs finally figured out that, hey, he's 7'4", you can just throw him the ball and he's going to make something happen. There have been a lot of frustrating moments over the first 4 games where Vic will have a steal on someone who's way shorter than him, which is basically everybody in the league. But specifically, he'd have like a guard sealed down low in the post, or in transition, he would get that switch. He's got the mismatch, get him the ball, and the Spurs players just haven't done a good job of throwing him entry passes, giving him, a pass just into a position where he can be successful. It's been bad so far, but in this game, it seemed like they were making a concerted effort to get Vic the ball when he had those mismatches, which again is almost always. There were a number of times where Vic and Kevin Durant were standing next to each other in this game, which some of those photos are probably going to be looked back on as like iconic moments in a few years. But Kevin Durant is almost 7 feet tall out there, and Vic makes him look like a 5th grader. He looks so small next to Victor Wembanyama, and that's the absurdity of Vic, that he's a player of that size, a guy that is dwarfing Kevin Durant, and he's still able to do the things that he does. So finally, the Spurs guards and just players in general started getting Vic the ball, and it worked extremely well because in the first half, the Spurs were killing the Suns. They built up a lead of 27 points over the first 3 quarters. It was an extremely impressive effort from a young Spurs team going up against a veteran Devin Booker, Kevin Durant squad over there in Phoenix on their home court. They were really good, and I think a large part of that is the fact that they were actually giving their demigod player the basketball. So they built up this big lead, but unfortunately for them in the second half, the Suns stormed back. No Devin Vassell in the second half. He went out with an injury. Hopefully he's all good to go. I haven't seen any updates on his status for future games, but he goes out after playing really well for them in the first half, knocking down shots. One of their best players. And without him, the Suns start to build some momentum. Kevin Durant and Devin Booker get going. Keita Bates-Diop starts hooping. And all of a sudden, with about, I think, 4 or 5-ish minutes left in the fourth quarter, the Suns tie this thing up after being down nearly 30 points. And it felt like at that point the Suns might go ahead and just take this thing, that the Spurs might fold. Again, a young team facing a veteran squad. It wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world, but instead, Victor Wembanyama, after already having a fantastic game, said, I want more. I want to win, and I want to go up there and put up nearly 40 points and dominate the rest of this game. And he did exactly that, because over the last 4 minutes and 15 seconds of the game, Vic was perfect. 10 points, 4-4 shooting from the field, 1 of 1 from 3. The only thing he did wrong was miss 1 of his 4 free throws. Meanwhile, the Suns put up just 5 points, 1 of 10 shooting over that stretch, partially because of Vic's incredible defense. He dunked on Drew Eubanks, hit a big 3. He carried them to the finish line. He did everything they needed and more. Vic is a special talent, doing this in his 5th game of his career against an all-time great in Kevin Durant, a guy in Devin Booker who I think will go down as one of the all-time greats. Unbelievable stuff. He was truly special in this one. Like I said, finishes with 38 points. He's the first player with 100 points and 10 blocks over their first 5 career games since Shaq back in 1992. And his 38 points in this game are tied for the 3rd most in a game by any Spurs rookie all time. Only David Robinson is ahead of him. And by the end of this season, there's a good chance Vic has a way better game than this. This doesn't even feel like the peak of Vic's rookie season powers. Again, he's doing this in his 5th game after the Spurs players finally figured out that, hey, we can just give him the ball and he can just do things. I hope this is a trend going forward, because we could see some truly unbelievable performances from Vic in his first season. You know me, I'm a Thunder fan. Up until this point, I think Chet Holmgren has been up there as maybe the favorite to win Rookie of the Year. After this game, and if this continues, Chet isn't really going to stand a chance. Right now, Vic is averaging 20 points, 8 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal on nearly 60% true shooting, and he's only playing 29 minutes per game. He's not even playing that much out there for the Spurs. Imagine what would happen if they gave him like 34, 35 minutes, and now that they continue to build chemistry, the Spurs guards are trying to figure out how to find Wemby better. I think it's only a matter of time before Vic is making all-star noise going into February. He was truly unbelievable. One of the most special rookie performances that I've ever seen. I'm excited to see how it keeps going. I said in my video when I talked about his preseason performance that I could see Vic being an all-star and finishing as a top like 25, 30-ish player in the league following this rookie season. He might even go higher than that if this is what we're getting in Game 5 of the year from Vic. It was amazing. Moving into the other games, the Sixers went ahead and took down the Raptors. Kelly Oubre continues to look like one of the steals of the offseason. Another 20-plus point game from him, scoring efficiently. He's been really good. They've been looking for a bench wing type of guy like Oubre for a while now. He did start in this game, but I think once the guys from the Clippers trade come over, I could see Oubre moving back to the bench as that bucket getter there. Embiid had a 28, 13, and 7 performance. Still impressed with the amount of assists he's been getting so far this year. Tobias Harris, phenomenal start to the year for him so far, 23 points in this one. Maxey just 18, not the 30-point games that we've been getting from him previously, but he was still perfectly fine. Meanwhile, for the Raptors, not a lot of positives for them. This wasn't their best game, but Scotty Barnes continues to be amazing, looking like a early most improved player candidate, an all-star type of performance from him in this one. And really to start the season, he's been an all-star caliber player, 24, 8, and 8, been the Raptors' most consistent guy out there. If he keeps playing like this, you know, we might see him on that team when February rolls around. Meanwhile, in Magic versus Jazz, Paolo Banchero is back. It had been a slow start to the season for him after a lot of people saying, hey, he's going to be an all-star this season. He's going to make that breakthrough leap. Had it happened up to this point, but against the Jazz, 30 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, including an extremely tough layup over John Collins to take the lead with 14 seconds to go that ultimately would help give them the win. Franz Wagner was also good. His partner, 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists. Meanwhile, for the Jazz, it was a close one. They just couldn't get over the hump, but they did get 20-plus point games from Lowry, John Collins, and Jordan Clarkson. And finally, the Pistons faced off against the Pelicans, and New Orleans gets a big win, blowing out Detroit without Zion or Brandon Ingram, mainly due to the play of CJ McCollum, who had 33 points, continuing his cook sesh from when he was cooking against my Oklahoma City Thunder. And then you had Matt Ryan, who on a two-way deal drops 20 points on 6 of 8 shooting from 3 in the starting lineup. Huge performance from Matt Ryan. Shout out to him. The Pistons didn't have a lot of positives in this one. Cade had some good moments. Ausar Thompson had a couple amazing passes, but ultimately, I would say probably the biggest bright spot was Marcus Sasser, who had 19 points, 2 boards, and 3 assists in 29 minutes. He's continued to look like a solid guard presence for them off the bench. Wouldn't be surprised if he got some more minutes going forward. Really like what we've seen from him. One thing I do want to say is I haven't loved how it feels like Jaden Ivey has become almost an afterthought in the early going of the season for the Pistons. I hope that's not the case going forward because I think he's a really big piece of their future, but so far he just hasn't been getting a lot of run. But yeah, with all that being said, those are my thoughts on these games. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. Comment down below your biggest takeaways from these games. Specifically, what do you think of Victor Wembanyama's performance? I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts. And yeah, I appreciate y'all watching. I'll see y'all later. Real One, say it back.